everybody, it's Arlem, and we are going to be talking about some Royal Navy stuff for the month of October. October is the anniversary of the victory at Trafalgar, and so I thought it would be fun to go over a couple of things about Navy life. So I did get a couple of questions about ship's biscuits. And ship's biscuits are basically the same thing as hardtack, which I think is a little bit more of a familiar name for a lot of us. And this was the bread of the Royal Navy. Ships were very humid, obviously, because they were on the ocean, and they couldn't bring fresh, or at least they couldn't bring very much fresh bread as we know it. So they would hire bakers to make thousands upon thousands of these things. And they would put them in barrels and seal them, and that's what they would get a lot of their calories from on the journey. Ship's biscuits are very basic. It's basically just flour and water. Some recipes you can find salt in them. Some recipes you can find fats in them, but those ones aren't going to last quite as long because salt will draw in moisture, and the fats, obviously, they'll go bad a little bit faster. But if you're just using flour and water, we know that it lasts forever. There are even examples from the Civil War that are still around and are not moldy. I think there have been a few people who have tried it. I don't think that I would go so far as to try it. But yeah, they last for a really long time if they're kept sealed and in a dry place. So your basic ship's biscuit, they're either going to be round or square, and they're going to be pricked so that they don't puff up too much. The Royal Navy would have, a lot of times they'd have theirs stamped. We don't have a good Navy stamp, but here's a fleur-de-lis. I guess these are French Navy biscuits. And these things are hard as rock. A lot of times they would be broken up and used in stews or used as breadcrumbs for various dishes like puddings. You had to do something to these in order to make them edible because, like I said, they are rock hard. Now, even though they put a lot of work into making these last forever, they still would have a problem with weevils. And you see it a lot of times in naval fiction, especially, where you have them like tap their biscuits to tap out the weevils. And weevils were an issue on board basically every ship. And weevils they weren't really gonna make you sick. They were just kind of gross. A lot of people would probably have just eaten them, which is disgusting. But they were just a nuisance that the sailors kind of got used to. The recipe that I used for this ship's biscuit is from Feeding Nelson's Navy by MacDonald. And if you make them, be careful because I'm pretty sure that you could probably break a tooth on these. Yeah, they're so hard. They don't have a bad flavor though. They kind of taste like a saltine cracker. I mean, they're not disgusting, they're just pretty bland. And definitely need a broth or a sauce to make them edible. So this is something that a lot of my characters would be very familiar with. Georgiana and Dominic, Mara and Colin, they would all know these very well because the normal sailors, the regular sailors would get these, but also the officers, this was how they got their bread. So there's a little insight into food in the Royal Navy, and that's your historical detail.